Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Aditya Challa. You can call me Addy. I am a senior solutions architect with AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. Today, we are here to talk about how we can use AWS for space-related activities, space-related workloads. So the name of the session is Being Cloud Ready for Space. I've been with AWS for about for a little over 4 years now. Started as a technical account manager and switched to solutions architect just before the pandemic. And I've been in relationship with ASU for a little over 2 years now. So um, really passionate about cloud. I have all AWS certifications and been in the IT industry for about 17 years now. I'm working with cloud and data science and big data workloads for about 10 years now. So thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to move forward to the next slide and talk about our agenda. So I'll start with a little bit about what is AWS and give you a little bit about a small intro about what Amazon Web Services is or what cloud is in general, in case you're new to the concept of the cloud. And then we'll switch to talking about the new space age. What are the things that are happening in general in space? I know space has been around for a good 60 years now. A lot of exciting stuff that happened, but recently things have gotten even more excited. And so we'll talk about that. And then how is AWS enabling this space industry success using its services? We'll talk about that. And then AWS has a division called Aerospace and Satellite. We'll talk about some of the solutions that division is putting together, and also how our customers are using AWS. What are those solutions looking like? And talk a little bit about how AWS can make a difference when it comes to cloud in general or space. Are there any questions, Samantha, before we get started?
Oh, just people are introducing themselves and their interest in the cloud, so you can get to know the community here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I hope you'll find value from the next 35 minutes. I know we started a little late. Well, I'll try to be mindful of that. Okay. So what is cloud? Especially what is Amazon Web Services? So as you can see on the slide, it's a broad and deep platform that helps customers build sophisticated, scalable, secure applications. But in general, what cloud is it's accessing infrastructure through the internet without and pay as you go. It's as simple as that. You're accessing infrastructure through the internet and paying as you go. So instead of managing, maintaining, owning your own data centers, servers and storage and databases, things like that, you come to AWS and request for these services and provision as you need and use them as you need. And as soon as you don't need them anymore, you turn them off and you just pay for what you've used. That's the concept of cloud. That's the concept of AWS. And so if you compare, it's like your water or electricity usage. Instead of having a well outside your home or a power generator outside your neighborhood, you're basically paying the power company or the water company a monthly bill for the usage that for the amount of water or for the amount of electricity you're consuming. This is pretty similar to that. So what are the advantages of moving to the cloud? The first and foremost advantage is agility. If you remember before, teams always had to request for cloud or request for servers, request for storage as if they need to experiment something, especially if the infrastructure that they currently had was not enough for that experiment. So they had to put in a ticket, and then sometimes that would take a long time. And by the time the server was available, the team has already moved on to some other things. So instead, cloud allows them to provision and deprovision provision as they need, innovate more and more quickly and frequently. Cost savings, you're only paying for what you use, and your upfront expenses are much lower because you're not investing in huge servers or huge data centers. And also Amazon has something called economies of scale because we're always buying stuff in bulk and in batch. And so we turn those savings back to our customers, and so keep working on reducing our prices. Elasticity. This is something that's very relatable to space. So when you're starting something new, you might start with something small. You might only need a few servers. You might only need a little storage. But if your idea becomes a success, you might immediately need to scale up without having to re-innovate, or without having to put any influence, or without having to experience any downtime. So AWS helps you scale up. At the same time, let's say you have downtimes like in the middle, or off peak times during the week, like Sundays, or maybe times during the summer when your school is not active. In those times, you can simply scale down so that you're not paying for the peak rate. So that's something that's very helpful when it comes to elasticity. Innovating faster. We have teams that are always working on what our customers need, and we take what our customers tell us and work backwards. So we are very well known to innovate faster, and you get to take advantage of those new services without having to even upgrade or get a different package or anything like that. Those services are always available to you. And finally, it is not a service that's only available in US. It's available all over the world. You can simply start in one place and then simply go global in minutes without having to do a lot of extensive research or extensive work. You can simply copy or duplicate what you have. And we have regions, and I'll talk about what those are, regions and availability zones. But in layman's terms, I can say we have locations all across the world to help you go global. All right, so now let's talk about the space age, which is why we are here for the event. So the world is entering an exciting and daring new space age. So first of all, the space industry is rapidly growing. It has been rapidly growing and transforming. If you've been following what some of the private enterprises have been doing, and how some recent advancements have been happening. And then I know it's been a while since humans went to the moon or went to deep space. The new era of humans spaceflight is dawning, as you all know. And finally, we expect that satellites launched into orbit, if we think that today we have a lot of satellites, we expect the number to quintuple over the next decade. So how does all this come into picture when it comes to data processing, or infrastructure, or storage, things like that? And that's where AWS comes in, right? We are here to help you, or help our customers achieve their goals without having to worry too much about the infrastructure, and let us do all the heavy lifting. So the cloud is enabling space industry's success. One of the things is driving down the cost of innovation, as we already discussed. Customers only pay for what they use. Managing and transforming data on Earth and in space. This is very important because there is low latency access to global cloud infrastructure. It doesn't take a lot of heavy lifting these days when you need data from across the world. You can simply access that data with very little latency, helping to manage and protect valuable space assets. That's something that also AWS is helping our customers with. Our customers can apply edge computing, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, and Internet of Things. All these are areas that AWS has heavy expertise in. So you can take advantage of all that expertise and develop your space assets. And when it comes to infrastructure, we are all about providing modernized infrastructure and process, so that you can focus on your mission, and let us do all the heavy lifting. As I mentioned, AWS has a division called Aerospace and Satellite, which focuses on the challenges and opportunities of space. As you can see, there is a Venn diagram, which has space expertise on the left and cloud expertise on the right. And right in the middle, we bring those together, and we focus on members that have both both expertises to help our customers excel when it comes to aerospace and satellite. So A&S allows us to deepen our work with our customers around the world to reimagine space system architectures, transform space enterprises, launching new services that process data on Earth and in orbit. So this is something very important. As you've seen in the last 10 years, the amount of data that gets generated and gets processed has simply been exponentially increasing. And so it's very important to have infrastructure that's not only capable of processing that data, but also capable of sending and receiving with much lower latency. And AWS is, as the cloud provider, is very popular when it comes to these abilities, providing cloud solutions to support public sector missions and companies advancing space around the world. So this is something I'll talk about later in a few slides, but when it comes to public sector missions, there are a lot of compliance requirements. And so AWS has a infrastructure that is available through not just one region or one location that's used by private enterprises as well as public enterprises, but we also have something called Gov Cloud, which I'll talk about soon, which allows public sector missions to be hosted without violating any of those compliance requirements. Just checking on my time. Okay.
You're doing great.
Thank you. The A&S team's experience, as you can see, we have members that have experience in the defense industry, the intelligence community, and civil government, and also private industry when it comes to our members from A&S who have also been working with private industries like SpaceX, Boeing, Honeywell, etc., ULA, etc. Okay, so what is the main goal of A&S, right? Enabling successful space missions with the cloud. A&S provides secure, flexible, scalable, and cost-efficient cloud solutions to help commercial as well as government customers build satellites, conduct space and launch operations, and reimagine space explorations. What does that mean? Or what does AWS really offer when it comes to that? The biggest thing is our experience in managing massive scale infrastructure. As you know, AWS is part of Amazon, and when it comes to building massive scale infrastructure, it all started with Amazon. So we took all that experience, put it together, and said, how can we help? How can we use all this experience to build something that allows developers to build sophisticated applications? And that's really how AWS was born. So we have if you take the amount of cloud companies out there, we have the most experience around that. And AWS always treats security as our top priority. And you probably understand why that is very important. And then when it comes to functionality, we have the broadest and deepest when it comes to functionality. And I'll talk about some of the services that are available. And AWS also has something called ground station if you want to run your own satellite missions. And the biggest worry until AWS ground station was born was companies having to manage their own ground infrastructure to communicate back and forth with those satellites. And so AWS ground station allows you to quickly spin up your ground infrastructure and scale as you need. And as I've previously mentioned, there's always data that's getting generated, and you need industry-leading artificial intelligence and machine learning processing systems to process that data. And AWS is really advanced when it comes to AI and ML. And on top of that, we have the largest community of partners who can also bring in expertise for services that they can offer that you can use to further enhance whatever your mission is. Okay, before I go into the customer solutions, are there any questions, Samantha?
No, just chat about the things people are interested in working on. Keep going.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so I'm just going to share a few customer solutions that are being built. So here there's Capella Space, which uses AWS to provide customers with access to satellite data within minutes of capture. And as you remember, traditional satellite data services used to take a long time, sometimes up to 24 hours, and a much higher cost. But Capella Space is able to do that within minutes of capture and at a much lower cost. Another company, BlackSpy, which is into geospatial processing, is all about cloud first. When they do something, they always think about cloud first. So they built their satellite system architecture completely natively on the cloud, reducing the investment, management, and time associated with development compared to any traditional command and control systems. Here's something that you all must be familiar with, the NASA's Curiosity rover. When the landing happened about 10 years ago, NASA's JPL used AWS to stream the images and videos associated. And so we were able to let them provision capacity rapidly and deliver engaging experiences to the public. Now, this was 10 years ago. And if you think that streaming images and videos is not a big deal, let's look at the next slide. So on Thursday, February 18th, 2021, which is last year, NASA's Mars Perseverance rover also landed on Mars. But this is the first planetary NASA mission with mission-critical communication and transfer of telemetry data all in the cloud. The science and engineering data will be processed and hosted in AWS. So we came a long way from Curiosity to Perseverance. So it's not just about streaming audio and video, but it's also about actual mission-critical communication that's happening within AWS. Here's another example, Digital Earth Africa, using AWS to make continental scale high-resolution satellite data available within minutes of capture, about 800% faster than before. This allows government environmental policy or environmental agencies to quickly make policy changes based on whatever is happening in the continent. And if you're familiar with Landsat 8, it lives completely on AWS. AWS hosts about 400,000 scenes of Earth or 200 plus terabytes of data, making it available under the Open Data Program. As at that URL below, you can find a lot of open data, and Landsat 8 is one of them. So as you can see, there are so many opportunities on AWS with being cloud, as far as being cloud ready for space. So what does AWS do, or how does AWS differ from anybody else, or how does it help you do this better? So one of the things is we have industry leaders building on AWS. So as you can see, all the big names are there on the slide. They use AWS to not only start their, many of these companies were startups when they first started on AWS, not only initiate their business, but also flourish and grow and scale their businesses. As I mentioned, you can scale globally with resilience in every region. So what does that mean? As you can see on the map there, we have multiple regions, which are like those blue dots, which are already there, and orange dots that are coming soon. Basically, a region is a cluster of, is a cluster of availability zones, which is then further a cluster of data centers. And if that is a little confusing, let me explain soon. Every region, each dot on the world, is a combination of multiple availability zones. It's a physical location, and each region has something called multiple, each region has multiple availability zones. And what that means is each availability zone is a cluster of data centers. So these are discrete data centers, each with redundant power, networking, connectivity, all housed in separate facilities. So by making this available, as you can see, you have resilience in each region. So if you just pick one dot from here, you still have resilience. You don't need to say, I need at least 3 dots, right? I know I need to be in at least 3 regions. Now, if you want, you might have a requirement to either from a compliance perspective or from a usage perspective or from a use case perspective to be in multiple parts of the world. But as you can see, just picking one dot to begin with gives you the resilience that you are looking for. There are 26 regions that are currently available, 8 announced regions that are coming soon. Right now, there are 84 availability zones if you combine all the regions, and 17 local zones, which means local zone is nothing but an availability zone, but local to close to you. For example, we recently launched Phoenix. We started with LA, and I think we also have Las Vegas, et cetera, et cetera. So these are local zones that might not have all the services that AWS offers from if you compare it with the parent region, but it still provides you the services necessary at a much lower latency. In the same way, just like local zones, we also have wavelength zones, which are nothing but data centers that are connected that you can connect with using 5G. So in the US, we have partnered with Verizon to allow our customers to get much better latency over their 5G network. As I mentioned, security is our top priority. Everything we build is designed for security. It's constantly monitored, highly automated, highly available, and we have several security certifications, not just in the US, but also internationally. So AWS is the first and only cloud service that has certification through TS-CSI, which is a top secret certification. So if I start from the left, there's something called US regions, which are used both by public as well as private. They have FedRAMP, MOD, and DoD IL2 certification, and you usually connect with them through the internet. So this is where most of our commercial companies are. Some of our government use cases are hosted. If you take one step to the right, we have something called AWS GovCloud, which has even more certifications like ITAR, FedRAMP High, DoD IL2, 4, and 5. And this is used for most government-related or public sector-related use cases. And then if you scroll or go further right, there's SC2S, which is a secret relationship that we have with our government. And so anything that needs IL6 DoD clearance can be hosted there. And then there's the top secret region, which has even more top secret stuff. So the reason why I'm showing this slide is sometimes when we're doing things in space, there are projects that need to be top secret. And so I just want to make sure that you can see that AWS has the infrastructure available that is accredited to be TS-SCI. I just wanted to also talk a little bit more about AWS GovCloud. It's designed to host sensitive data and regulated workloads in the cloud. It supports US government compliance requirements, including ITAR, FedRAMP, and CJIS, like I showed in the previous slide. It's operated by employees who are vetted US citizens. The root account holders are all confirmed US persons, and it's only available to US government agencies and organizations in government regulated industries that meet AWS GovCloud requirements. GovCloud is architected for government security requirements. As you see on the screen, there's FISMA, there's FDA, there's FedRAMP, there's ISO, there's NIST, et cetera, PCI. Okay, when it comes to functionality, as I mentioned, AWS has the broadest and deepest functionality service set that's available when it comes to cloud cloud computing. And so if you look at the bottom left, there is something called infrastructure. So that's our primary responsibility to provide you with our infrastructure. And then if you move right in the bottom, there's something called core services, which is compute, storage, database, and networking. Using these four pillars of our cloud infrastructure, we have further enhanced and built multiple other services by basically taking feedback from our customers and seeing how we can enhance or do the heavy lifting when it comes to managed services. Like how can we manage things for our customers so that they can focus on their use case. So everything else you see on the slide came from those bottom two things, the green and the blue things. The red part, security and compliance, is also very important. I talked about a few things in the previous slide, but AWS has, as I mentioned, security is a top priority. We have services like identity management, access control, where you can completely restrict who needs to be accessing what, things like that. Okay. So coming out of the those general slides, again, going back to space, I mentioned if you want to start a satellite or if you want to work on satellite workloads, the biggest worry for many customers until recently has been spinning up or putting together ground infrastructure. AWS Ground Station is a service that was started a year or two ago. And the main purpose is to help our customers quickly spin up their ground infrastructure without having to do a lot of investment. So what are some of the features? Low latency global fiber network, direct access to AWS services, fully managed service, which means it's managed by us. You just need to tell us what are the settings and what kind of scale you need, and AWS completely manages it for you. It's pay-as-you-go pricing, and so you can scale satellite communications on demand as your business needs it. So you can start with something small, grow, and then if there's an off-peak period, you can always scale down and then scale back up. And as I mentioned, we have global coverage even with our AWS Ground Station service. One of the other things I mentioned is how AWS has the top tier of AI and ML services. So AI services are basically ready-made intelligence services that are available to your application. So you can simply make API calls, whether it is recognizing an image or quickly translating something or quickly understanding who's talking about what or interpreting what discussion is happening regardless of the language. So these are some examples of AI services that are available to you if you're building something in space using that needs artificial intelligence. If you are trying to build, train, and deploy your own machine learning models really fast, we also have ML services like Amazon SageMaker that allows you to do that. That's completely tailored to your need. And you have a broad range of computing choices, whether it is for your notebook devices or whether it is for training or whether it is for inference. And finally, if you need even more control, we provide ML frameworks and infrastructure, and you can get a lot more control as to how you build those machine learning models. And as I said, security is a top priority even within these services, and they are flexible and they follow flexible pay-as-you-go model. Okay, so in summary, what is AWS's goal? The goal is to advance space or help our customers who are trying to advance space missions. So whether it is our commitment to space industry, whether it is our customer obsession, whether it is our orientation towards bringing you towards a solution, or whether it is helping you take the AWS advantage. We are always there to help our customers be cloud ready when it comes to space. Thank you. Wanted to now see if there are any questions.
Yes, and thank you so much, Eddie. There's one question from Adero, and that is, what is AWS doing to improve diversity of access using artificial intelligence?
diversity of access using artificial intelligence. Could you expand on that?
Darrow, you're welcome to unmute and expand yourself, or let me unmute you if you can't.
I've unmuted. The AI that has been in use in a lot of systems has been developed primarily by white males, leaving it not necessarily recognizing other voices or other faces, and using old data. That data was collected from limited sources. So then the reaction to anything that was different has been a problem. So I wondered if there's something consciously being worked on to improve access and to decrease discrimination through AI.
Got it. So I don't have specific data on how I can definitely look and give you some answers, but generally speaking, AWS and Amazon have always been working on inclusion and diversity. We have our own division called inclusion and diversity, and no matter what we do, we are always thinking about making sure that we don't have any kind of bias, any kind of like you mentioned, any one particular group that's affecting whatever we are doing. I can try to find some more data about specific to what you've asked when it comes to artificial intelligence and SageMaker. I can definitely. I mean, the director of our machine learning unit is a very prominent expert that came from India, and I can tell you that we are always working on making sure that there is no bias when it comes to that. But I can get you more data that's more specific.
Is it okay if I piggyback off that briefly, just because it's really relevant to some of the work we're doing here at ASU, where AWS really powers a lot of our innovative cloud work. We just launched, and the first cohort is in session, something called the T4 Leadership Academy, which really defines the intersection of culture and technology. And it is leaders across ASU currently, and we do have intentions to hopefully one day globalize this, who are either in roles like maybe HR or culture development and don't have exposure to emerging technologies and what that really means for, bolstering good culture and diversity. And also technology leaders who maybe have a lack of familiarity or experience with organizational development, leadership archetypes, diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging. And so it's really the intersection of like highly technical skills like cloud computing mixed with culture to do this really deep dive training. So our first cohort is a pilot of 16 people, and it's going on as we speak. John Rome, who is our main cloud scholar here and our deputy CIO at ASU, is leading the cloud and AWS portion of it. And the case study that they're tackling right now is one that I wrote called The Bot That Botched Belonging. And it's actually based on an incident of AI getting it wrong and what happens in an institution. So I'll share the link in the chat.
Sure. I'll check with John. I work with him every day. So sure. Thank you. I now have, I mean, I totally understood the question and I do have the context. It's just that I wanted to make sure that the question was answered specifically around what are we doing with our artificial intelligence machine learning models so that they're not biased.
Oh yeah, just a good opportunity to tag in some of the awesome work that AWS and ASU is doing together, because I know partnerships make the world go round, and we're so grateful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Eddie, for being here today and educating us. I learned so much, and I'm really excited about the future of cloud and implications for space. Just want to check in if there are any follow-up questions from the group. Feel free to get them in or contact Addie in the meantime. And I just want to say on behalf of ShapingEDU and ASU, thank you so much for being here. And thank you to this audience.
No problem. So there's my email address. If you have any questions that you thought of after we sign off, you're always welcome to email me. Have a good one.
Have a good one and hope to see you at the next session.
Bye-bye.
We'll be back in the lobby, sparking the next sessions. Thank you again.